just want to give another special thanks to Matt Krause and the CCS and the CPSDA for allowing us the opportunity to present today. Another big thank you to Allison and Courtney with their collaboration as we were able to put this together for you guys. And thank you for everybody that's tuned in today.
Is it not clicking here? Okay. Yeah, so to start it off, I think it's, comes to this athlete-centric approach or holistic approach, whatever you want to call it. And, Courtney and Allison approached the two of us to kind of get in and present this topic of collaboration with sports dietitians and strength and conditioning coaches. And, I think you have to take a step back and look at each department as a whole and how they collaborate with working with an athlete and take that athlete approach of everybody here is part of a team around them to make them better. And, professionals in their own right in different sects of player development. And every team member is focused on that same goal, right? And that's to get the athlete better on field. And then that intradepartmental collaboration on those player needs. Everybody's going to play an important part in some way, shape, or form. And the more that we can collaborate, the more that we can work together, the better the product is for that athlete, and ultimately the better their performance can be. So, I guess dissecting it down to performance nutrition and strength and conditioning, which is what we're kind of going to go into with this talk today, and how our two departments have collaborated and putting together things for the athlete. And how we can bridge a gap interdepartmentally with player development, both the minor and major league levels. And we're going to go into some specific fueling and supplement strategies that are goal-oriented, game-oriented, and programming-oriented for pitchers specifically, starting pitchers specifically, and how the sports dietitians and the strength coaches, how we kind of here at the Pirates gotten together to kind of create a routine and create some protocols that are easy to implement with the athlete. And then again, that athlete sees the same message coming from dietitian, strength coach, and dietitian knowing what they got for strength and conditioning work, and the strength coach knowing what they have for their fueling options for that day. So that message becomes a little bit louder and a little bit more important for their understanding. And they see that, the two departments are connecting and everything is there for the athlete. And it's not just, us trying to do something without the input or help from anybody else. So ultimately that collaboration piece between two departments and ultimately all departments to get that athlete where we want them to be.
All right, so we're going to kind of go through our 5-day starters routine as an example of this collaboration. They're kind of the easiest low-hanging fruit group because their work is actually pre-thought out and there's not as many obstacles going forward. Go over. Okay, so some energy systems that we're trying to train here, just as an overview. Day one, we're looking post-pitch is a aerobic capacity type day, a little longer duration. Day two on their side day would be a lactic capacity day. And day three, we're looking at some anaerobic conditioning, short distance sprints, agility work. And day before they pitch, we're looking at some short maximum intensity sprints and an alactic power day. And then day 5, go get it. So here you can see some more examples of what we kind of do. We'll dive deeper into it as we go here. We also have an adjusted routine for a pitcher that is working a 3-day, a third day side or bullpen. Not much changes. There's a couple things, days mixed there.
Yeah, and like T mentioned, low-hanging fruit, the starters have that most consistent routine in that we know what they're doing and it's planned out and it's more regimented than, say, a position player, say relievers, as most strength coaches in baseball will know. That's a lot of variability. So the thought of collaborating with our sports performance and sports dietitians to kind of go through that starting routine and know on a day-to-day basis metabolic pathways and energy systems to fuel the most efficiently that we can for those days.
All right, so the day one, like I said, was a work capacity day. This day we'll have a lower body lift. I call this one out of the routine kind of that big work day for them. I know it's post pitch, but it's kind of the best opportunity we have to get a large workload on them before we training them to their next start. So goal of this one, we're going to be some more aerobic based conditioning. We will base this off of their yo-yo conditioning test, or we'll put them on the ground and have them running outside, or some steady state cardio on the bike inside. I think the most important part of this one will be the fueling pre and post for this day, because it's a high work day.
Yeah, so
I'll pass it to Adam for the nutrition here.
As T mentioned, you know, that goal, obviously recover, rehydrate, and refuel from that day before, from that pitching, and that starts, you know, right after. But coming into that first day, you know, knowing what their workload is, getting them their collagen, their drip drop, whatever hydration modalities you wanna throw at them, you know, half hour before their workout, and then, you know, Courtney and Allison like the beta alanine option of 2 pills or a scoop pre-workout as a pre-workout fuel. And then again, that fueling option, if they want to eat a meal beforehand, you know, we've had them break it down on what a plate would actually look like for them in terms of their proteins, their carbs, their, you know, their vegetables, things like that, and some options there with a little picture. And you know, they high carb, moderate in protein, low in fat. It's a heavy aerobic day, so that's their pre-fueling, you know, strategy structures that are in place. And obviously, if there's guys who don't like that heaviness feeling, that full feeling prior to, you know, it's a light snack before, and again, some options for those light snacks prior to the workout. But where it becomes important, move these pins of us around here so that you guys can see. Where it gets important is this after workout strategy. And again, this is based on what their work is for that day. So that post BCAAs mixed with water hydration modalities, some cherry juice options as a pre-nighttime or post working out. And then that protein goal is broken down into some weight ranges for the athletes. And then again, some carbohydrate goals based on what their work is. And then the option again of, if they have more recovery modalities post workout, you know, that's when we'll get them a shake whenever they can't get a meal in. And obviously the meal is the priority. We want food first is ideal versus just getting a supplement off the counter and going. But obviously circumstances dictate what these guys are doing and can and can't do at the time. So if they're headed to the training room for any kind of arm care, maintenance, recovery modalities, grab a shake, and post recovery, then get in their meal. But again, you know, that food focus, good fats, quality carbs, lean proteins, everything basically. And again, kind of broken down that the athlete can see when they build their plate, kind of what that plate structure should be for the day. And again, this is based on, you know, that specific work day of being a high aerobic, you know, day for these guys coming into the stadium.
All right, day 2, we're looking at their bullpen day and a lactic capacity day as far as their conditioning. So here is kind of another work day, a little bit less so as far as the lifting goes, but with that lactic capacity day, I believe the feeling becomes pretty important pre and post for these guys. And by that, we'd have some gashers or something like that they'd be running post pin, and then completing their upper body lift and arm care all on that day.
And again, what that looks like with these guys coming in, a big emphasis and a big repeat on the hydration aspect. And again, adding that collagen in there, adding that beta alanine as a pre-workout choice. And again, the same structure for the fueling when they come in. If they can handle a meal, then they can, handle a meal, and that's structured out with what the plate should look like. And again, if it's a guy who doesn't do well with that pre-game or pre-workout meal, then it's, the snacks are kind of laid out there for these guys to come in and sort of point them in the direction. But this is a good day for us to get in a game day simulation for fueling. These guys have a bullpen. These guys have some work that or things they're working on with pitching coaches. So this day is kind of our day to try and mimic what we would do on start day with some pre-fueling routine. And it's a big day to kind of get a guy into what works for him, what's not going to work for him in terms of how they feel, stomach, and things like that. So this is a good day to simulate some things nutritionally prior to going out, throwing a bullpen, and seeing how they feel with it the rest of the day to kind of play with that fueling option for game day. So this becomes a big day for trying things, options of things, and seeing what a guy will tend to lean towards of feeling good after eating this, and then maybe throw that in for his game day fueling, actual game day, rather than just a bullpen day. And again, that post-workout BCAAs, the protein goal kind of stays the same based on weight, the carbohydrate goal, but this is a more high intense sprint day. So short rest periods in their bullpen, they'll utilize mostly carbs as a fuel source. So, more of an emphasis on replacing some of those post-exercise. And again, this comes down to that collaborative piece of Allison and Courtney really coming in and asking a lot of good questions and getting with T and I and asking what conditioning is and asking what those metabolic pathways are and what their workload is for the day, so that they can, on their end, are providing these guys with the most optimal choices based on their strength and conditioning work, as well as some other, personal factors that play into what these guys are doing or prefer to do on their end. And again, with it being a high work day, that food focus, today there's a dark and bright colors, fruit and veggies, a big nutrient punch for some recovery and good quality carbs. So again, focusing, taking the focus and an emphasis into a little bit different part of their plate build out for this day. Am I clicking over? Is it clicking? There it goes.
All right, so day 3 of the starters routine, we're looking at an anaerobic sprint conditioning day. There's usually no lift that takes place on this day with our starters, being that we've gotten the lower and the upper out the way. So it's going to be short distance sprints, 10 to 40 yards, maybe some quarter pulls, different things like that, base running routine. Something I had to get used to being over here in the NL. So we got to get our pitchers on the bases as well.
And again, that hydration aspect, you're going to see that a lot. I mean, I think that's a big important part for these guys to continually work on that hydrating factor with as much work as they're doing. Again, this kind of pre-workout kind of stays the same of, are these guys eating a big meal if they can? Are they snacking? Some of these guys, depending on game times, I think last night I didn't get back to the hotel till close to 11:30 midnight, and some of these guys before that. So they're typically waking up late. So that fueling source prior to them showing up to the ballpark tends to be before they show up. So they come into the ballpark. It's either they're eating their first meal or had just eaten their first meal. So, and then getting some work done. So it becomes, are they fueling a full meal, or are they getting the snacks of what they want to get to make sure they could get through their work, and then getting that big meal after. So again, it becomes dependent on that pitcher and what sort of their schedule kind of dictates with all the other factors going on. But again, it's if they can handle a meal in the morning, or early afternoon when they get up, then it's for sure get a meal in. But if not, we want to make sure that they're fueled enough for the work for that day. And then that post recovery becomes a big important key for this day. So, really want to focus on staying hydrated. There's not much work, like T said, in terms of a bullpen or any strength and conditioning work. So you'll see that there wasn't any, major recommendation with any BCAs or anything. But again, it gets a little bit more personal than this. This is more of a general overview. And then we kind of take that sniper approach, Courtney and Allison, and dial it in a little bit more dependent on the guy. But that protein goal, that carb goal is a little bit lesser this day. So obviously they don't need as many carbs as they did the other days. And again, it's if they can get that meal in right after their work, then for sure that's the best option. But if they're again going to get some more recovery modalities post workout, some arm care, anything like that programs that the ATCs are working on, because again, it's not just us or the dietitians. They have a lot of other things going on at play. So if they're headed in there, then it's, grab a shake and hold them over. And then as soon as they're done, get in and build out their plate. And again, this one's got a little bit bigger focus on that veggie and aspect, that carb aspect with the fruits. And then a little bit lesser of pure carbs and protein.
All right. So day 4, this is pre-start. It's going to be an alactic power day. We're trying to get some CNS stimulation. So short sprints, agility work is typically what we're doing on this day, with a light lower body and core activation type day for these guys. Again, just trying to get them moving, trying to get them where it's not coming off of 2 days of doing, not too much before their start. And also pushing the hydration and nutrition on this day, with knowing that a lot of these guys don't eat come start day.
Yeah, again, as it's been said, before the workout or before the day, getting in their hydration, working with what they're eating, if they can eat a meal, if not, and if they're waking up late, it's usually the snack variety, and they get to the clubhouse, and then it's maybe a smaller meal if they can handle it, or they'll get right into their work, and then focus on that post-workout recovery or post-day recovery to try and get them fueled up for that next day. And again, it's a shorter workload. Obviously, if some of these guys might do that lighter lower body, that core activation, so maybe a little bit more intense than another guy on this day, but really working that hydration aspect for tomorrow being their start. Again, that protein goal. This day is important here to get that balance of protein at each meal and snack. And obviously that mindless grazing on high carb foods may cause them to feel overly full. So we want to avoid that with that next day being their start day. And then obviously the good quality carbs all day is important. Working for that next day, or keeping that next day in mind of they're going to go out there and they're going to be pitching all day. So we want that good carbs, help keep energy that next day, help keep focus. And then again, if they struggle to eat much the day they pitch, fueling on this day is critical. So, again, it's really getting dialed in with Courtney, with Allison, on what this day looks like for each individual guy, and how they can go about preparing this day the best to set them up for that next day being their start day. And like T said, a lot of these guys roll in later than most other guys do, and a lot of guys tend to not eat much this day, or not eat efficiently this day, and don't like that feeling of being full on the mound. So really this day 4 becomes, again, another game day simulation of let's get everything we can this day to make sure they're set up for success that next day. And again, this plate build out here is, kind of what we want it to look like when they're building out their plate in the cafeteria, and when they're going through the line, and just knowing that they need to consume those quality carbs and that protein option every 3 to 4 hours to make sure that they're in a good place come day 5.
And day 5, it's go get them. Come in, daily movement prep, pre-game stretch, do everything you know to do, and it's go get them from there.
Yeah, and again, this is the day where guys are going to tend to probably not come in eating a large meal or eating a meal that's, they're going to shy away from wanting to feel full for the most part of these guys and knowing these guys. So, we want them to use strategies that they used the last 4 days. Some caffeine recommendations there, just for that pre-activity kind of amp for them. And then for the fueling end, it's consistent and intentional. Do what they're accustomed to doing. Don't change anything. Don't do anything out of the norm that's, crazy for these guys on that day, just because they don't know how they might react to it. Stick with their high protein, moderate carb breakfast, and then that pregame meal, again, a little bit higher in carbs, moderate protein, and lower in fat, and help with the glycogen stores to fill up for that game and what they're about to do. And again, the post game is a little bit more dialed in, and it's, these last, what did we have, four games now. It's been fun with Allison popping down, during the game and getting things ready for guys. She's really been on point with, who's pitching, what they tend to like to do post pitch, getting their supplements ready, getting any kind of post pitch recovery drink ready. So again, that collaborative aspect of her popping down and having a quick conversation with us to make sure, a guy wants this, a guy wants that, what their routine's going to be in the weight room when they come out, what their, how long they're going to be before they head upstairs, so she can have some things ready. So again, it takes that, that collaborative aspect of all of us to make sure that these guys are in a position to recover post what they did, but also setting them up for, success later on in the road with knowing that their bodies are in the best possible spot to recover, or best spot that we know we could get them to, considering all the outside circumstances to recover. So, and then this fueling aspect here, this recovery shake and have a meal of their choice. It's a good time for them to relax and kind of get that meal in, that eat whatever they want, kind of feel good post game and know that they're just going to start the process all over that next day. So again, a lot of things here, that common message has been that athlete-centric approach. We want them to have that well-rounded and consistent message coming from both performance teams. When I tell these guys, or these guys ask me anything performance-wise, I know that Allison is going to make the same recommendations. And then on the opposite end, when these guys come in that day, Allison knows what their strength and conditioning work is, so she can have that conversation with the guy, knowing that, hey, you have a high aerobic day today, so let's try this today. And the athlete sees that same message coming from both ends, and it kind of creates that buy-in from that athlete, knowing that everybody's involved, everybody has, something at stake that help them get better, and we all know what they're going through on a daily basis. So that player sees that, and that trust factor is huge. I don't know if you got anything else on that.
No, I think the collaboration is the biggest part of that. Like Adam said, just piggybacking off of that, I think having the player's best interest in mind allows the whole staff, coaches included, as we open up that diagram there to everybody involved in the player's performance. It allows for the egos to be checked at the door and stay out of the programming and what's best for the player.
Yeah, and I guess lastly, we have this future considerations and just some small conversations at this point. And, this can snowball and just for anybody watching, just the other things to consider with in baseball specifically, but obviously other sports, other athletes, other positions, say football, everybody's got a different goal. Everybody's working differently. So to have one program to encompass an entire team of athletes is obviously not ideal, but considering a lot of circumstances, you know, that's how a lot of things work, just to have a general blanket. But again, you can get dialed in and take that sniper-like approach. And, you know, for us, for baseball and specifically, it's, you know, how do we start to look at relievers individually? How do you start to look at position players individually? You got bench players, you got everyday players, you got some programming needs that are different for everybody. So again, this is the fun part with working with Allison and Courtney, is that they both are very interested with us and into what we can dial in more specifically with in-game demands, day-to-day demands, things like that, to create sort of that same outlook, that same program for each position specifically, and then for the individual specifically, so that these guys are zeroed in as much as we can possibly get. So baseball specifically, a lot of considerations of future, you know, collaboration between us specifically. So T, you want to wrap it up? That's
yes, sir. No, we appreciate you guys having us and allowing us to speak with you today. Matt, Kraus, thank you again. Courtney and Allison, big thank you. It makes our job a lot easier to have that collaborative approach and have the nutritionist on our side and trying to do the best for the players. And I would encourage anybody on this and in these situations to collab as much as you can, and get what you can get out of this with the players. And I think we've already seen a difference in a short amount of time that Adam and myself have been here with Courtney and Allison.
Yeah, thanks again, everybody here listening. Thanks again, Matt. You know, very excited for this opportunity. So if anybody's got questions, you know, T and I are available. I know we have the round table here, so, you know, we're excited to share, to help and give our outlook on things. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, hey, thanks, Terrence and Adam. I know they're about to pop on right here. A lot of great information. Good stuff. Good stuff. Oh, there he is. Who we got there? Hold on, we gotta unmute you. You gotta unmute, Adam.
There we go. You got me?
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
What you got?
I got Ariana, 5-month-old. She wanted to crash, so I got her right now.
What kind of nutritional program you got her on?
Some oatmeal and bananas this morning. So she's liking it. Bananas and apples for the most part, and then oatmeal.
I think we had Frank come on. Did Frank pop on, or did he pop off? I don't know where he went. There he is.
Yeah, I'm here, Matt.
Well, listen. Lots of good information. I love the whole 5-day run through. But no, listen. With your first being new, coming over to Pittsburgh, and me, you, Frank, and actually Brandon, we're all Pirates at one point in time, so we have a common bond. So
Congratulations, Adam.
we appreciate that.
Thank you.
But you know, so in talking about this relationship with the dietitians, you came over and you meet with Allison and Courtney. How long did it take you guys to get on the same page and get things going for the Pirates?
I think it was pretty quick. You know, we had some phone calls over the course of T, and I apologize, T had some stuff to take care of this morning, so he had to head out. But I think in some initial phone calls with them, through the process of some interviews, and then obviously after the process, just some team phone calls and some ideas that we had and some ideas they had. I think it was pretty quick, and we meshed pretty well, and just the openness of them and the openness of T and myself, I think it made it pretty easy to get into the subject and start talking on how we can approach a program on the nutrition end to kind of match some strength and conditioning protocols and kind of make it a, you know, whole program as opposed to our part versus their part. So I think it was pretty quick and easy.
Nice. Okay. Frank, what you got?
Great talk. Both you guys did an outstanding job. Being my 10th year out now, how time flies. I had 16 years in the pro ranks, 9 of those in the big leagues. So listening to your 5-day rotation brings back a lot of good memories of day 1, day 2, the bullpens, getting some anaerobic work in, and of course from a nutritional standpoint now, spot on, outstanding talk. I think the industry's evolved. Gosh, Maddie, you can speak to this too. I mean, when we first got in back in the mid 90s to when we got out, let's say in the 2000, for myself, 2011, it had jumped light years, and I think it's even taken more strides in the last 10 years in regards to the details of the nutritional. I think to a point where now each team has a sports dietitian on staff as part of their performance team.
Right.
Where I'm at,
definitely evolved, right? We started from almost no meals, really, throughout the day, and the players were on their own to meals. And I want to say there was at least 5, 7, I don't know, probably my first 7 years in the big leagues, like we didn't have a dietitian or as a consultant. And then eventually we had one on staff that were at home games only. And then it evolved to my last 2 years in the big leagues. My assistant I eventually brought on was a dual dietitian, strength and conditioning coach that actually traveled the team and is handling the day-to-day, kind of like you guys are doing with Allison and Courtney. So I'm excited. I like the way everything's evolved, and you guys are on the same page, and the industry in and of itself. So it just helps you be able to be a little more specific at your job, right? And they're handling that piece, and you're not. And they're getting quality information. So I really like the collaboration with everybody to put the player first.
Yeah, and to plug Chris's podcast, if you haven't listened to the podcast he released on Wednesday, same experience for me. It was my first year, getting the extra envelope of meal money to go get peanut butter jelly and some bananas and some apples for guys, and that was it. And they were on their own for a post game. So yeah, that was my first year. So the 10 years, like you guys are saying, it's night and day, and just the things that are available that organizations are doing has been awesome for the game, for the players.
Yeah, I think Matt,
we got a question in there. It says, if there are some guys that don't stay completely dialed in with their nutrition and their percentages you presented, what are the low-hanging fruit that you focus on with them? If they're non-compliant.
And it's more of them not being compliant. It's usually more of them looking at options and seeing how something else makes them feel. I haven't really experienced a guy, because these guys are very educated themselves now as well, and are always asking a lot of good questions on, hey, I read this or I've seen this, and it's our jobs to make sure that we're dissecting that information as well. And it's more curiosity than it is not adhering to a protocol. And we're all open to these guys of wanting to try some other options that aren't in there, and it's a matter of educating them on why we have what we want. And then obviously that other aspect of they're also their own person, and they want to try something, and to tell them no, they can't do that, you kind of lose that respect factor almost. And it's a little bit of a give and take, and it's okay, well, we can try this, but also let's try and throw in the small things that we want to get you doing too. So it's that fine line of understanding where they're coming from, but also making sure they understand where we're coming from, and kind of hopefully trying to blend the two and see what takes with them and go from there.
That's great. I think I always remember giving them options and let them decide, rather than pigeonholing them into something that they may not want or feel good with. And Adam, you hit the nail on the head, is education, man. I mean, these guys are so much more educated coming in at your level than they ever were. Even at where I'm at now with the high school ranks, these kids they have the power of the internet just like anyone else. And what we preach to them, the kids that come into our sports performance training centers with AHN are seeking an expert's opinion. Just don't rely on your buddy or the person making the sale at Vitamin World. See why do you want to take X, Y, or Z, and keeping it food first and just drilling down on the basics. Again, at the big league level and professional, whether you're in NFL or NBA or MLB, it's laid out for you. I mean, it's there. In the amateur ranks, you got to plan ahead. You know, you got to put that extra peanut butter and jelly sandwich in your backpack for the bus ride home. So it's really educating these kids to eat enough, to drink enough. You know, the whole early and often, I use that a ton. You know, that's the way we score runs. That's the way we eat and drink, early and often, early and often. And just simple things that can help these guys to help it stick with them. And then they're going to have to do a little legwork on the front end.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that question, not all these guys like to supplement. So, you know, those recommendations, there might be guys that don't like the BCAAs or don't like the beta alanine. So you get into that aspect of, okay, well, this guy's not a big supplement taker. So we're really trying to focus on the right foods and make sure that they're getting as much as we can through food itself. So you get the opposite aspect of, not that they don't want to do it, it's just they're not big into the supplement side of things, and that's okay. That's not a problem.
Sure. Keep it real food, man, as much as possible. Food first.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey, with some of the,
second.
obviously the pandemic, you know, bleeding over obviously into this year. So last year has had some challenges, and then so this year, but you have a better feel with all the new restrictions and different things. Are there any challenges this year that are maybe different from last year, or new challenges with the way you guys implement the program?
So last year, I guess me being in a different spot last year as a coordinator with San Francisco, it was a lot of, you know, video over and trying to send guys what we could possibly send them from the stash we had at the complex and make sure guys were taken care of in that regard. But I think now some of those things that carried over, you know, a lot of individualized things with bottles and powders and things like that, you know, we have to, you know, try and control as, you know, people reaching into a protein powder, whatever the case is. So, you know, that's always a struggle. Guys aren't going to want to travel with their own powders just because the risk of it blowing up. So trying to make sure we got everything packed for everybody, a personal bottle. But, you know, my experience of it has been pretty positive thus far. I mean, we started out on the road and I thought it was pretty seamless with getting guys what they needed and it being safe. And on the food end, guys, you know, everything's getting served in their own personal containers and things like that. There's the red card and guys are ordering their food, and I think everything's being taken care of pretty efficiently on our end with how they're getting their food and their supplements.
Adam, do you have any guys at your level this year in the past that are, you know, tinkering around with your intermittent fasting? Or are they vegans? You know, some of the trendier, popular type nutrition styles that have come on in the past few years.
So my experience, again, I had a couple players in the past, and I think it was more of an off-season tinker than it was in season. It was more of a, let's try this. Intermittent fasting being probably the main one was, you know, let's try this in the off season, knowing that the performance factor wasn't necessarily there, even still technically, in my opinion, performing in the weight room or, you know, anything they were doing with bullpens or batting practices, cage work, things like that. But I know in the past it's been, you know, the intermittent fasting through the off season, but again, changing that and getting back into structured meals in season to make sure that they're efficiently fueled, because I think a lot of guys, again, are educated knowing that they feel that sense of fatigue at some point not eating. And it's one of those things that guys want to make sure that they're in a good spot for the game. And it comes down to make a change for the season, knowing that that's their best option. And again, that education with sports dietitians huge. I mean, I'm not going to recommend or not recommend a guy intermittent fasting or a vegan based diet or what have you, but it's making sure that they know the ins and outs and are getting everything possible they need from their diet, but then supplementing everything that they may be missing, you know, through the aspect of, you know, dietary supplements that we could provide.
Good stuff.
Yeah, real good. Real thorough, man. Really enjoyed the 5-day. Listen, there's no other questions in the hopper right now, so we know you're busy. We know you have a game today. We appreciate your time. Tell Terrence we miss him. You know, we wish we could have seen him too. But hey, listen, good luck today. I know you guys are busy. enjoy that baby as much time as you can, because me and Frank both know the challenges
Yes,
of
sir.
having a family and doing the job. So, listen, good luck today. Thank you for your time. Awesome presentation. If any other questions come up, we will we'll get them over to you too, and you can answer, and we'll get it out to the people that asked.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys. This was awesome. And yeah, any questions, feel free. I'll be available. Email. I have no problem shooting an email to anybody if questions come up. So
Awesome. All right, man. Good luck
All
today.
right.
thank you guys.
Take care, Adam. Good luck.
All right.
All right.
Bye.